I'll be moderating this session, and as I call out your names and introduce you, you can take your seat here. First, David Yamben. He is an award-winning he's already won an award. Okay, award-winning illustrator and animation filmmaker from Manipur. He is a graduate of National Institute of Design, Ahmedabad. Known for his vibrant and culturally rooted art, he brings stories to life with striking visuals. In 2024, he won the Crossword Book Award, Popular Choice Children's Books, for illustrating all-time favorite nature stories by Ruskin Bond. Let's give him a big hand. Now we have Lungshai Layson. She is a storyteller, illustrator, and animator. She completed her master's in animation design from IDC IIT Bombay. She co-founded Pikacha Design Studio and contributed to projects such as Bystander by Kada Collective, Forgotten Folklore, etc. Her work explores memory, identity, and community. Lungshai is currently working on a comic with Zuban Books and a graphic book with the Tribal Design Forum. Lungdai and the Hornbills is her most recent work. Lungdai and the Hornbills is an illustrated children's book written by Thomas Malsom but illustrated by her. That book is available with, right now it's available with Pasay Books and Studio Stall. You can get her signed copies also. Please don't forget, please remember that. So we have David Yamben and Lungshai Layson with us. Let's give them a big hand. Yes. I have a microphone for you. Okay, now I'll go and sit there with them just to give them company. I will first give the time to David Yamben. Yes.
Hi, thanks for having me here. I am an illustrator and animation filmmaker. What I do actually right now is telling stories for others through visuals. I make their stories bring to life. So, last year I graduated from design school, and as a part of a graphic narrative, we had a course. Then we have to make comic strips, and we have to design a character out of thin air, and we have a lot of constraints making the strips, and we have to tell the story in 3 frames or 4 frames. So this is an example from my classroom projects, and again, other school assignment is that we take news headlines and then we expand into that. We did a lot of research and make a graphic narrative, like 4 or 5 pages. It's all like limited, and it takes our like storytelling abilities through visuals. So there's some pages from my earlier works, and then after that, like on social media, like Instagram, it's a new portfolio, like a modern portfolio for artists and creators. And there I used to share stories in 1 frame, like of my locality, like a slice of life. And then after that, I'll just get into the industry work. Right here, it's a children's book, but I want to explain something. Like you can see at the bottom, there's a level 2. It says level 2, right? So when we make a book, it has a level of like level 1, level 2, or level 3. And what it means is that the target reader for this belongs to a specific group who can't read independently, like a very younger section of kids. So based on them, I make the visuals, and the visuals are not too like detailed or very explicit. We have to play with the colors and the shapes and sizes, and with like small text, like lesser text, because they can't read. So these are some pages. And okay, let me explain about my creative process, how I develop the visuals in general. So first, any publication house, they will send me a manuscript. In that, an art director or the editor might give a comment on it, like which description they want. It's all there, and I have to read it thoroughly. And after that, I start my research and I develop the characters, and then we explore the world buildings, as in the assets and the backgrounds and all these things that are associated with the characters. So here's the example, and then after this, we make a thumbnail for each pages. We'll have a back and forth like feedbacks from the art directors and from the authors. And once we finalize it, we make iterations, and then we finalize the treatment. So the next book is level 3 book. Again, it's for a younger section, but who can read independently this time. And this one is actually a very lovely story about this young boy and his attachment with onion. Like, it tells a story about the farming of onions and in Nasik village. And there are some inside pages. Here you can see like there's only like two main characters in it. It's just the kid and the onion, and the other characters are secondary, and they're non-recurring. So yeah, these are some pages in the book. And then again, I was like very proud to make this book. This is a first book based on original stories. This is again a level 3 book, and it's based on Wipo tribe. It's a small tribe, and here I explain their way of like shifting cultivation and the rituals on the first harvest. So yeah, here like we balance the visuals and the text. Like all the visuals don't take up like a lot of space. It's like perfectly balanced. So yeah, these are some pages from it. And here again, I did a lot of research. On that community and their textiles and their way of clothing and preparing for the harvesting and cultivation. Okay, now this is level 4 books. Level 4 books is for still a younger age group, but who can like comprehend the facts and information more. So this book is based, it's about the climate like change, and it includes a lot of like real people and their real works and a lot of like information and facts. Here are some visuals from the books. So, and then next, I have rarely seen any like poem books, but this one is like, poetry books. But this one is for Ruskinbon, and it's a very simple, a short poem. And for this, we have to like interpret line by line. and make visuals for it. But the interesting part is the publication house, they are open to anything, to open interpretation. It's all up to me. And so I just translated visually as this. And then there's like rhyme, posters. It's just one frame, and I mean it doesn't have anything to do with the rhyme again. Like it's just it's for kids. So I'll just put it there. And then there's like long story books, and for this format, there is not much visuals inside, but just to help the readers support the story, they want to visualize it, right? So we just make like few visuals and just slip in, and just put it here and there in the books. And then again, this is for Skinbone, and it's for a collection of stories. And for short stories, we take like a pivotal line of important moments from the story, and we adapted it visually. So these are some pages from the books. And then there's this type of book where we it's about like the Padmasris, like 50 famous Padmasris, and here we take on their profiles and then we expand on their stories, like on their struggles and on their achievements and their contributions to the country. And the technique I use here is like I keep the profile at the center, and the context and all these important elements is like it's arranged around them. Alright, and this is like editorial illustrations. What that means is you take a report or a statement or a lines from interview or something, and then you expand on it, as in you deep dive into it, you research on it, and then you visualize the scene that the person describes. And for the last one, this one is very interesting because this type of visual storytelling is a very new one. And it's integrated with new technologies and softwares. So they make a program for this. This is like a game, as you can like customize the characters and personalize it. So here it is based in California. It's a publication house based in California. And the owner of the book can personalize according to their likes, and then it can change names and everything, and it will apply to the entire pages. And yeah, it's more personalized for them. And then you can review it digitally, and then you download and print it. So it's a new format. These are some pages from the comic. Thank you, that's all.
I wish I was among the audience so I could have looked properly. I was straining my neck so much, but from what I saw, it was so colorful, it was so illustrious. I hope you have an idea of what he does, but we'll go in depth later with questions. Now I give the time to Lungshai.
Hello, hi, I'm Lungshai. So David has already explored into the visual world of how it is done, and it's my turn to talk about visual narration, because as you have seen David's work, right? He talked about the work that he works with other people, and now it's my turn. I'll talk about how I create visual according to my own stories. So we have different things going on. So as we have all seen that our culture is all about oral cultures and all. So we know what the stories is about, and everyone have their different stories and every have different narrations. And for that reason, I want to make my story, so that people can visualize what I've seen and they can see what I have seen, and then I want them to know what around surrounding, like my story and my surrounding is. So this is why I made this. So I have always enjoyed comic. Okay, I was lucky to be born to a family who read books. So my mom and dad, they usually they gave me. They buy me lots of comics, especially Tinkle. Like in Ukul, if you have known, like I'm sure lots of people have read Tinkle. So it started with that, and then not just Tinkle. If you want to read more into it, like I read, there's a newspaper subscription in Telegram where at Sunday there's a children's section where there is tennis, the menus, like all peanuts, everything is there. So I started with that, and I find it very interesting. And then, like one thing that I still clearly remember is while reading comic, okay, like at the comic Tinkle, there was one story written by Tangkul. And then I was so shocked and I was so happy to see it. And then the story is about how we become a farmer, like very Filipino. So there's a name where it's a Kaishok Rai, like that. And that really excites me to be, like I want to be this, I want my story to be in a Tinkle as well. I don't know, so that all started, and then I want to become, I don't know much about it, so I want to be an artist, and then I read comics, and after that, after a few times, manga started coming to bring anime and animation, so I want to be an animator. And after that, I went to study so many where, because I don't know where to start. So I started. Can you turn back the slide a little bit from the start? Yeah. So yeah, I'll take it from here. So I first started making lots of visual without any narration before. But then the first thing that I started was this zine. So it's about, it's called Post-Colonialism in the Corner of India. So this is my college project in College of Art, Delhi, during my BFE things. So I didn't put it in a slide, but then it's a small things with nothing, just to describe how our society is and how it has been going on, and how it is how it modernized, the colonization modernized it. So it's a small thing. So I made this for it, and then I find it very excited. This is my first copy, which written it out. So this is where it all started. And after that, I thought I registered to Gazing Bazaar in Mumbai. So from that, I made two Zen comic again. This one, Lost in Translation, and if you go back to the slide, this 8. So there's two slides. And I represent Lost in Translation is solely based on my experience of language barrier, and 8 is about a womanhood, not just womanhood, girlhood. I just want to explain that one. I didn't put it here, but then I'll talk about Lost in Translation next slide. So Lost in Translation book, when I was making this, I was planning to create the story out of it. It's next slide. So I'll give you the slide. You can read. I hope you can read this. Yeah, if you are you can read this and try to read it. It's I want to tell them the experience when I first go to Delhi, the language barrier that we hold. I studied class. From nursery to class 12 in Ukul. So going there, I don't even know how to speak Hindi. And even English, we have to speak English here. So it was very hard for me to speak it here. And then I have to communicate them. It is very difficult. So I started, for that only reason, I made this Lost in Translation. So in this story, I talk about the struggle that I faced, how to pronounce. And one thing while I'm making this, I realized how important it is to have your own identity, especially language barrier. You only feel connected only after you know the language of someone else. It's I went to Delhi and I'm alone. And then hearing someone talking Tangkhul already feels like home. This is what I want to convey with. And then the problem with Tangkhul community, with so many dialects that we face into it, that's what I want to talk about. People say when I have to introduce myself, I usually introduce as Manipur. And then they'll ask me whether I know how to speak Manipuri. I don't know how to speak Manipuri again. And then I'll tell them that I'm a Tangkhul tribe, then a Naga tribe, and they'll say, do you know how to speak Nagamese? Then I don't know how to speak Nagamese as well. So this language barrier, it was like, it's very hard to explain it to people again and again. And you know, one problem is that when I come back home, in Manipur and Ukhrul, our home place, my mom and dad have different dialect, and I don't know both dialect. So they'll ask me again, like, so what are you, like this caused me a lot of problems. But it's true that we have been facing this in so many places, like we have so many dialects, I don't know which one is which one. But then the language barrier, and then I always feel like language is the connection for everyone, You feel like only when you know what someone is talking about. So this is what this process in translation, I talk about this to show that. So the thing is, when I made this Zine and represented for the first time to the world, I never expected that people will relate into it, because it's totally based on my experience and this experience. But then I got such a huge response, people saying that they relate to it, like even though they are not from Northeast, they are from other places, everyone say that they are related, and that gives me a huge, inspiration, like, I don't know, like how to say, a big boost to write my own story, like if I'm nobody, yet if my story can connect someone, that means it feels like, how to say, like I feel important as well. And also it's good to know that I always want to connect people, because I don't know how to talk properly as a kid, but then through art I've been trying to communicate with it. So that is one thing that I really like. So going to the next slide. So for this slide, we talked about it before, like introduce ourselves, like I work for Karak, no? Like Karak, I don't know. Yeah, so Shreya contacted me, my editor, she contacted me in saying that we want you to be a part of the comic storyteller for East Asian Women. So it's an anthology, and they want me to contribute one comic out of it. So they didn't tell me anything. We just had, the topic is bystander. So bystander, at that moment, well, at this time I was in Mumbai. I was doing my master in IT, and I was doing it, and then can you go back to the slide again? I'm sorry. Yeah. So I remember my mom calling me for this one particular conversation, which she talked about, like my auntie, like my own neighbor, uncle passed away. So he passed away, and then my auntie doesn't cry that much, So everyone is saying that she doesn't love him enough. So that hit me so much at that moment, and then I started thinking, and so that gave me back to this story. I want to. No. Yeah. So this story is about domestic violence. So you might have known. I feel like it's very familiar to every one of us, especially here in this area in our society. It's very common, but then we didn't interfere with them because they say that it's a family matter. So growing up, I'm not kidding, I really think that domestic violence, a man beating a wife, it's normal. It's really normal, I feel like that, because I have seen it right in front of my face and no one was there to help them. And then it happens in my neighbor, right around my neighbor, and then it feels so common. And then that's when I made this story. But then the power of visual is that you don't need to show the explicit image, You can see it and you know what is going on. So this is what I want to say, like visually we can interpret what is going on. So that I wish we read this as a kid in the comics, that domestic violence, it's not good. And then you know how normal people normalize it. So this, in just this 4 page of visualization, I made this comic. So solely based on my experience. So I feel very proud to represent this because I mean like it's still a taboo to talk about domestic violence here, and it's still happening again and again. But then I wish the younger generation knows that it's not a good thing. Like you know, you should know that you should at least we should know that it's not good, so that we can prevent it in for further generation. So yeah, this voices I made it for that, and then going to the next slide. Okay, so this next slide. I made this, like be different can be a little delicious for paper plane. It's for paper plane, thinking it out loud. So they contacted me and they asked me to make anything related to food. And as you have seen from that few stories, I usually write story for myself related to me. I don't know how to create something new, so I made it for myself again. So I talk about in these things. You can read the slides slowly when they did it. So the slide is about when I first went to Delhi. You know how people see us Naga as we eat everything that breathes. So everyone asks me that question. Everywhere I go, they'll be like, "Did you eat that?" And when you see squirrel, you eat that, right? And then that's how they interpret us. And then at that time, I was very angry. I got so frustrated, and then I don't know how to explain. And part of me, I'm ashamed to say that I eat that as well. So that is why I made this story. So going like you can see that if you can read, please do read because I find it it's very interesting because it's my point of view as well. So it's like that. So, and then that's how I want to show them like how it feels like to be that. And during this, while making this comic, I made a few research, not just research, realization that my dad village is somewhere near the town, and my mom's village is very far from the town. So there are two different dialects, very different dialects. So it's like my dad family eats simple things, while my mom family eats everything. All the vegetables they have seen, all the forests, my mom will point it out, you can do this as a chutney, If you put it in a pork, it's so good, all those things. So that's where I came into being and realization about why we eat this way. And that's how I create this movie, these things. And I'm very proud now. I can say that I'm very proud to represent this. And not only that, the problem with our society, why visual representation is very we need visual is this. It's because we don't have that much visual representation. So we usually watch other community and other society things. That's the reason why we end up copying them and forget to appreciate what we have. So I think even though it's a visual, I think we need to, even though it's illustration, the representation is something that we really need. Yeah, so now that everyone watches K-drama and Japanese stuff, anime, everything, we started watching that, and then, when they eat natto, it's teisui, teisui, it's they eat it very proudly, and we can't even I don't even want to say that I eat that, we pretend like we are shy to eat that. But then this representation to show that they show it, and then that's when I started bragging about it, I have tried this, And recently we had a small event where David, as you have seen, he's a filmmaker as well as an animator, and then he made an animation movie called April. In there, he represents so many food collection of our own. You can see Yongchak squash, also Irongba, of everything. So that is what we want as a visual representative, so that people can see into it and they should ask questions. What is this? And that's the chance we started explaining what is this. So the visual representation of that. So I started that as well. I started explaining to all my friends. I told them what is this, I keep on explaining that. So this is my experience of that comic, and I made that. And yeah, so as you can see, we can start seeing what we have seen. That is Hoksakri, her pie, and then Hesi, Hoksai, Gongcha. So it's very common, but outside world. And we all eat that. But we are so ashamed of eating that, to admit it. So this is why I do that. So I started explaining to you. So this comic is based on the food-related things. It's very simple, but then it explains what is in my mind. Yeah. So next. Yeah, and I really like this frame, because I remember like my mom loved watching things and all. So during holiday, whenever she doesn't have to go to office, we'll go there, we'll take our basket and we'll go for watching. And she will explain everything. This is this, this is this. So I love this, and then I really like this concept, like our society eating this. It's free. You get it for free. And then we can just eat it. So this is why, this is the reason why I made this comic. And then I even got such a good response from other people as well. And that gives me another hope again to make our own stories. This is Hantotap, making Hantotap at home. And see, about visual representation is that the kitchen that we have, it's a little bit modernized, but you can recognize what is this. And that is very important. I find it, whenever you read comics or watch them, when we see something that we remember, we directly feel connected. And that's why I try to add as much as possible of what I can remember through it. And it's a little bit modernized now. This is how I am saying that I can eat everything. Like now, I'm not ashamed to say that, Now whenever my friend asks me, I usually say, I can eat this, and then I tell them that the red ant is so sour, and if you put it in yam, it tastes so good. So you should try that as well. So this is a story for Zuban, that comic that I made for Zuban. So this is for common room, they make this, they contacted me. This is one project where it doesn't interpret, I don't have any input in that story. But then, I want to show you as an illustrator what input I have to add to represent their story, to bring out the story. So in this Zuban, they made this story for during COVID time, where people, daily earner, wages earner, their struggle, especially for women. Because women who are working in it, so they did the research and everything, and they gave me the script and I wrote it out. So I didn't put all the comics in it. I put some of the only few comic pages just to show how it is. So see, it's just a comic. I'm just an illustrator, but I want to the visual thing is that I want to show their expression. While they are facing this. The way they are doing it, so they represent it. This is Imakete and how the women are like, and when they say that during this time, there are times where you can't sell it outside the floor, you need a permission, and if you don't have it, you can't sell it there. But then it's very hard to get permission as well. So that struggle that they are facing, since they are getting wages, they just want to sell whenever there is a harvest going on. So that struggle, okay. That is things. And then this one is a small comic I did for my college during my master time. I did it because I really want to go back home. It's during COVID time as well. And then you would think about how to go home. So it's a small 2-page comic just to show you where to go to Ukhrul, It's like you take it, you go from airport, you take your auto, There, at that time, it used to be only 250 rupees. But now, just to go to the train, bus station, I think it's 500 rupees. Last time when I asked, it's 500 rupees. The difference that is. And then going to Ukhrul, and sleeping all the way, and then going to Litan. And the thing I wrote is that if you come to Ukhrul, these days I didn't face it that much, but in winter you'll see it. Just after crossing the Litan, you feel the chill, chill of you're in Ukhrul. That chill, that's what I want to show, and that's when the curvy road and all, that's when that you're in Ukhrul. So that's what I was trying to represent it. So, and then I made this small comics about Let's Cook. It's a small things. I just want to experiment with it, like how to cook pork. just for. So this is an interactive comic that I did during my college time as well, but then I didn't finish it. Like they'll just have to, if you click it, they'll explain it. So it's a, but then this is a process of how to make work in our Naga style. Yeah, so that's it. And then in the end, you just eat it hot and you eat it and you like eat it together with your family. So yeah, and yeah, that's thing. This comic, yeah. And I don't know. I usually make my family a lot. Like that's my whole family. We eat together like this. Things has changed a lot. We don't use this lipan anymore, but then I still remember this. It's very fondly. So yeah, this is how we eat back home. Yeah, and also I want to show the visual representation of not just full-length comic, just one picture things, because visual can express so much that by looking into it, you can feel the characters of this character. Like of this three small character, you know, how imaginative the boy is, you know, attentive, and one who is leading them. So you have to be careful, you have to be careful. So this image, the image, visual storytelling is this, you know, you have to explain it. You have, by showing just this one picture, you can express and you can feel their emotions. And yeah, so I put the small things of this. Like I remember, I'm from Sekor village. I'm Sekor village, and if you ever been to Lam Nam, we have lots of pundon over. So during December, October, like we usually go there to pick the pundon, and then before the rice red now. So that I remember that, and I make this as well. So this is another thing. Yeah, I made this recently because I miss going home and, you know, going to tuition, especially at morning. You know, we usually go to tuition, and then it's like that's one thing memory that I remember a lot. You know, for what I know, as a the thing is that visual things. Why we really need visual is that we recently shifted to a new house, okay, and then it's been more than 5 years. But then I have never dreamt about that. What is it? New house. I always dream about the old house. It keep on happening, and it's been like so many years, and then that's when I realized, you know, like we need to show, we need to start putting more visuals during our childhood area so that we can remember it much easier. We forget the dialogue, what is going on and all that, but then the image, if you close your eyes, like you can directly remember that moment, and it's usually childhood memory, you know, that innocent times. So that's why. And then I made this together with Unibro. We were planning to have a storybook about picking gooseberry. So it's like, it's just a 3-page comic, like just to show, just to pitch it to the publishing house in case they get it, so to show how it will be like, you know. So so this is it, like visual, like without words, there can be through visual you can understand what is going on. Yeah. So, and I think this is the last one. For this, in the heart of autumn, like this, I made this last year because during October time in our family, we usually go to picnic. Yeah, so it's like every year during October we'll go to our grandfather picnic to catch fish, you know, fishing day. So it's like we go there, and I want people to explain. And then there's one thing I realized that while making this, I asked my husband, you know, like, how was your experience? And I've never been to October fishing, okay, picnic. It was such a, he missed out so much on this one. because it's a fun, like, this is where you connect with your cousin, like your far cousin who stays in Imphal or in the village. This is the time. So this is the reason why I make this. Like, yeah, so I want to show how we do it, yeah. Yeah, we usually take part in the what is it, stream regional, and then we eat together, you know. That was the first time we eat whole fish, you know, as a whole, and then we enjoy it. So it's like, it's a fun time, and it's a memory, and this is one thing. And yeah, I do, even me, this, there are 2 books, I did it, and then I didn't contribute it in stories, but through visuals. And if you want it, I think they have it as well. So to check it out for them, this is one children's book that I did it for forgotten folklore books. And let me talk a little bit about that as well, because it's very interesting. I really like that project that happened, because for that they see that while looking into it, I think it's related to us as well, and we should incorporate what they are doing as well. So if they say that we don't, all our folk tales, or not just children's book, we don't have it in our own language, and in the representation, it doesn't match them. So they try to make our own things. So they ask for fellowship to write their own stories, and with their own dialect as well. And then the illustrator, we have to direct it, and then we did it. So it's very important to have our own story, visualize it, because that's how you can. The tango dia nama kan. Because itong bingi, itong kada we katai we hi kanai kita itong lari kapag ang national atam jadi tanggis dia atam di lekha, like we can show them hine that hang jadi hi jana jadi la lari kapag atam kada jadi la itong ya aja hang jadi ka la ning sang ngai mai jadi kita thai mai da credit itong nui de lari khang atam di la kyoto in a hangada tennis menis lari kada jago la nui de ka komit na pa atam ji Fuji to move we put it. We end up copying so many. We end up seeing so many dogs from different culture. We forgot our own how to. So when we deal with how to take cover, itong bingi itong kata rin leshi mi itong what kata. Jadi itong bingi visual representation when we deal with when la ka hang itong text book kita jadi yang no cover. Very kind of and one thing I really regret, I don't know, I really want to work on it is that I wish we had a more textbook about us, like with our own words. And then for that, I want to say that Tinginao is doing very awesome work for that, because he made a card with a visual as well as Tamil tree, Tamil language, which is very important for our kids, because like she said, when you go outside, I don't even remember the whole name of the week in Tamil. And like I said, language connect us so much, and if we forget our own language, we are forgetting our own identity. So we need to get back to our identity as well. And through that, we need the help of visual as well, because now so many things has gone away. Like every year when I come back home, I feel like I don't recognize, like I don't even remember the Ukul town properly. So it's like if we have a proper visualization, like visual captures, and that would be so great. Nowadays, like there are so many videographer and photographer, but then I wish we focus more on illustration as well. Yeah. So yeah, with that I conclude my speech or
We don't want this session to end, honestly. We want them to continue talking and showing us what they do, what they love doing, and what the scope of visual storytelling is. There's a lot of scope, like they've shown us, whether it be through comic strips, through book illustrations, through poetry illustrations, through animation film, which David has made. There was a screening that happened last week. I think last week was it last week? Yeah, there was a small pop-up event there. We screened his film April. It was a very short film. It was animated so beautifully. The food that the Métis eat, his community eats, it was shown so beautifully that it nearly brought tears to my eyes. The feeling of home, he captured it so well. Yeah, the feeling of home, feeling nostalgic for home, feeling homesickness for home, he captured it so well. I wish we could see the movie as well right now, but we'll go on to discuss more about how they ended up doing this, how they chose this. Were there any mentors to guide you in showing you, oh, you could do this, there's scope like this, but was it you just struggling and finding your own way? How was it for you, David?
Since a child,
Now I think we can turn a little
yeah, since a child, I was fond of storytelling because I have an uncle, a neighbor, and he used to tell us stories, just make up stories. And yeah, after 12, I decided to go to like design, more like narrative stuff. And I look up on the internet, like, is there any design school? Like, is there? I really wanted to explore other mediums than just audio or just textbook. So yeah, I found a brother. Like, he was in IIM, Ahmedabad, and he suggested me there's a National Institute of Design. It's a premier institute. You should apply. Then with the support of my parents, I just go for it after 12. And then I got selected, and at the institute, yeah, we went through a lot of like design practice and other different stuff like furniture design, product design. It's not just, you don't stick to just one what do you call it? Yeah, not one medium. So we explored everything, and then I decided my own in the first year, and I opted for animation film design. There we deal with like moving image mostly, but illustration is a part of it. So I got interested in it, like as I was a volunteer for some workshops and all, and then in the meantime, I also like share my like stories, illustrations on Instagram and social media, and I guess like in the third year, someone picked that up and they contacted me for works, and I got my first project there. So like right after that, and like it got spread out like with word of mouth, and I got another chance, and then it goes on and on. Like I've been working for like 5 years now, so that's how I got into this industry. And yeah, obviously with the support of my parents and my like, friends and relatives, yeah, it was like, yeah, it took me some year to break into the industry, but yeah, definitely I got into it like, after like few years.
So there's this notion that all artists should be struggling financially or like mentally, or what do you think about that? These days, can artists survive solely on what they make, what they do? Is it a sustainable profession? What do you think? Can you? Would you explain?
I really love art, but I also understand in our context, it's a bit like we struggle a lot after your studies, and so I was actually looking for career secure, a very secure career, and then I found design. There, like, it's all integrated with art. So it's not solely art, but it's integrated with it. So yeah, there I can practice my art plus this new medium design. Yeah. So yeah, but here I don't think it's still poor here, like the scene of art. People don't like really appreciate enough, and yeah. That's the struggle.
It's not a warning to us all, but just saying. I wish we put more importance on visual storytelling as well. Like the community knows more. Or there's more scope for artists, upcoming artists. Yeah. Noted that artists may struggle if you follow this profession, but it's very inspiring. What you do, what you guys do is very inspiring, and we need more people like you to tell our own stories to tell our own experiences, to represent what we feel, to represent what we eat, like you say, what our lived experiences, everyday life, I think is best portrayed like this, storytelling. And we know storytelling well, it is in our genes, it is in our culture, but this is a new medium we can explore further, right? With Shai, I want to ask you, your personal stories that you illustrate, those are very relatable. Like you say, a lot of people came to you saying it was very relatable. I think it was one of those post-colonial, this one, or the Lost in Translation one. Yeah, I think I saw that on Instagram. Your cousins, I think they posted it on Instagram, and I saw that. And I think it was from that on that I was hooked to your this thing, and I felt related to you, related to your art, and I always look forward to what you were gonna bring forward next. So we look forward. What other things are you doing with beyond visual storytelling?
Well, yeah. So I make visual storytelling for comics, and this is my own enjoyment, like because I love art and telling my own story. But on top of that, to sustain myself, I make branding design. So as you have introduced us, we are Pikaja design. We did we did Pikaja design. We make branding, brand identity. But that is also part of storytelling because we made it. We really want to reach out to all the local peoples to have their own brand identity and to explain more about it. Because we make packaging design. So as you have seen, like in Ukhrul, especially not just Ukhrul, in Manipur, we have abundance of fruits which no one eat. Like, like myself, my mother, like my husband's house, we have so many plum. And then they were saying that they are planning to cut it down because they don't eat it anymore. But then the thing is that these days people are coming out and they are making lots of fruit candy. And we want to promote that. We want to promote that in such a way that if we put it in a very good packaging design, there's a story to tell as well, just in packaging design. Then if we promote it outside, people will buy it because we have, like that morea tape. We eat that a lot. It's almost the same as heka, but then we eat that because we thought that one is like with better packaging. We thought that's more hygienic. But then if we do it in our way, and if we sell it properly with a very good packaging, people will like it. And if we sell it outside, that will be very good for our community as well. So
I'm sure the brand has more sales after you intervened, or what?
yeah,
What did you hear from them?
Well, not to brag and also brag. After we have been doing the research for the past 2 years, after we make the packaging design, and we have seen a huge sale.
Like, which brand is this?
One is Zerai. We first worked in Zerai, and then the second one is Parafood. And the next one is last year we did it. This year it released for Nagland Sumo printing. So Sumo, it just got released on January this year. I called them up like few days back, and it's been like 4 months. And then she told me the sale is like, the response is so much that they were not expecting that many response after the packaging. So like
it's all storytelling.
It's all storytelling. Like if you have the story, people will come for it. Yeah.
We will give some questions to the audience, but before that, I wanted to ask a question to David. He has, like he mentioned and showed earlier, he has illustrated for Ruskin Bond. How was it working for him? Can you please share some experience?
I was going to explain, but I think I went too fast in my presentation. Okay, this one was very special because I haven't read Ruskin Bones before that. I know him. But when they approached me for the project, they just sent me a sample of a story. So I was just reading like few first lines. I usually like only read the lines that is important to the like visual, that's related to visual. But here I just started from the beginning, and it just captured me because the way he describes the vibe, the moments, it's so vivid. Like it's magical. So I came to know, like truly know him, through that book. Yeah. So so I entirely read that collection of stories, and then I could feel it, like I could see everything vividly. So it makes the process very smooth in like executing the visuals, and also most of it's based in some hill stations, like mostly in Paharis. So I did research on them and the clothings and the way they live, their lifestyles, and it just helped me a lot. So if you I don't think we can like go back, right? Okay. Its stories have like different vibes and moods, and according to that, I applied different visual treatments. So so yeah, that's how it works. And Sir Ruskinbon, he was kind enough to like write to me back once the project's done, and he really liked it. And yeah, it was smooth, like it was the smoothest project that I've ever worked on. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, a general question for you both. In these times that is infiltrated by AI, how do you feel about your work in relation to AI? Are you scared? Are you, what do you feel? Can you tell us more about your fears or your, no, I don't give a shit, or your attitude towards AI?
Well, as for my point of view, I would say that I do use lots of AI, not in visual, but then the thing is, I'm scared as well because as you have seen, it's not just our community, even in India itself, they didn't appreciate art so much, but so they, knowing that they can use AI and they can copy someone, they can easily copy someone from it, and then they can, like, that will give us a huge drawback in it, especially like it's because the small scale organization, they usually contact us, and we are from a small scale organization, so they are the one who usually contact us. But then now that they have AI, I'm sure they'll start going there. But the thing is, art, the one which is created by artists or any people is like, we have so much emotion, you know, we can feel it, and then that is one thing that I have a hope on, that people will realize their own, like every artist has their own way of expressing their emotions. So I'm sure there will be time will come, and then it might that people will end up, some will definitely use AI, but I'm sure there are people who come for the original art as well, yeah.
About AI, I think it's inevitable because all this giant corporate, all these companies, they all incorporate AI, and it's being forced upon us. But and then again, like last week I guess, I saw an article, and it was a very scary one because they can replicate any illustrations, like illustrated books, children books, very perfectly this time. Yeah, even the expressions were like flawless. But still, like, I believe that this publication houses and all this, who stands with us, like, who believes in true creativity, they won't change at all. And then again, like, there will be a fatigue for AI art. It's not art, AI generated image, yeah. So yeah, there will be fatigue for it, and eventually we'll come back to this original human-made art, yeah.
Thank you. Now I will give the time for the audience. Hopefully you have a lot of questions to ask them to know more about them. If a volunteer can help me with this microphone, then it will be lovely. Anybody? I give the time.
Yeah, hi. I'm enjoying both of your conversation. So this question is for both of you. Like when you make this art or illustration, what is the medium that you use? Do you sketch by pencil or do you sketch in phone or other apps? I'm curious about it.
I first I first sketch it out in notebook, but nowadays due to the time constraint, and usually most of the project that we have, they give such a time constraint, so we use digital art. But if I'm going to have my own artwork, I'll definitely want to work with paper and medium, like in medium watercolor and all. Like that's my preference.
So most of my works are commercial, very commercial. So it needs to transfer back and forth. So we use digital medium. It's more convenient. But yeah, again, for my own personal works, or if there's a specific direction for a book, then I'll use like traditional art. But yeah, for now we use software, and then we have iPad, and then computer and the graphic tablets. We use that.
Thank you. Han hang ladies la. Han say. No more? Any more that you remember you forgot that you want to mention, that you have to say?
So I want to say this as well because we think we glamorize art so much that we thought that, like these days, especially these days here in Ukhrul or in Manipur, I always want to add this because art is very important, visual language is very important for every one of us, and we need this, but then these days and then nowadays people are going more toward this. It's a good thing and a bad thing as well, because in Ukhrul it's a small town where we need more educational people as well. So I want people to focus on that as well and keep, if you have the talent and if you have the intellectual or whatever to achieve something also, I will recommend you to go there, because coming back home I realized, we need more doctor, engineering, lawyers to fight for us when we are in need. Though we artists are the one who document stuff, and we are the one who will document and keep it for the future. We also need someone to save us so that we wouldn't die down. So that's it.
Thank you everyone for this lovely attention. It was visually very compelling and dynamic. They showed us their artwork in such a manner. We thank you both for this, for just existing and doing your thing. Continue doing. We need more people like you. We hope you can also mentor youngsters who are coming up. I want to just put it out there. They are nice people. You can just DM them or come up to them and ask them for advice, guidance, whatever you need. Lungshai is very nice. David, I met him today, but he's really nice. So please feel free to come up to them, to DM them, make use of this opportunity that you had today to ask them more about this profession or this line that they're doing. Okay. Thank you so much. We're very proud of you. Let's give them a big hand. Thank you.
All right. So welcome back. I know we've had a lot of session indoors and we've been listening and engaging ourselves intellectually, emotionally. So I'm sure a lot of us are in that zone right now and we'll try to continue it in a very interesting way. We have with us Miss Deepti Talwar. She is the executive editor of Penguin Random House. So it's a wonderful privilege for us that you're here.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me. I think this is such a wonderful project.
And we're so grateful for the support. I mean, we have a lot of people who have been pushing us to do something like this. A lot of our attendees here have been telling us that, they've been waiting for something like this to come to our small, sleepy little town. But yeah, we're so glad it's finally happening. And for this particular session, I'm sure it'll be a lot more interesting for those of you who are into writing and who see a future of some sort in the publishing world. And she's the one who's going to give you all the tea. She's going to give you all the tips of the trade. So let's dive into that. But before we get into anything else, so for people to know you a little bit more, can you tell us a little bit of your background? I'm sure you didn't study to become an editor and somehow eventually that role happened, or maybe you did, but maybe you can tell us a little bit about your journey.
I didn't, did I study I eventually did do a course in publishing, but I really didn't have. I think that with publishing, with any job in media, I think what you study outside of it, you really bring a lot. When you're a journalist and you study economics, that really informs the way you work. So I don't think you need to study the subject, whether it's journalism or publishing. I do think that you should have an interest in reading, and which I did from when I was a kid. I just read voraciously, like Pooja was saying. She just, her idea of fun was to sit and read a book, but mine too. And I got into journalism because it never occurred to me, I'm from Bangalore, and it just never occurred to me that publishing was an option. And I think this is the problem with the publishing industry, is that you can feel very cut off if you're not in Delhi, whether you're a writer or an editor. And so I got into journalism and I realized that I loved editing copy. And then a chance meeting with someone who worked as a literary agent happened, and then I decided to move to Delhi, and that's how I got into publishing. But yeah, that was pretty much my journey. I've been an editor for more than 20 years now, and
wow.
I'm so happy that it happened. It feels very much like just now that I got into it.
That's amazing. So we have a wealth of information with us. Again, so in terms of context setting, we are in Ukhrul, it's a majority Tangkhul community that we're in. And looking at the way the Tangkhul writing scene or the literary scene has come forward, a lot of writing is budding up in the recent years. We've had a lot of prominent writers in the past who've documented our history, who've written a lot of folk tales. But as an industry as such, we're still at a very nascent stage. We do not have a publishing house at the moment, although the new ones have come up. It hasn't really been an established practice. We don't have a lot of editors who are actively working here at home. So why does publishing matter, and why do editors matter, right? What are the roles that they have and why it's such a crucial part of publishing? Maybe we'll get a little bit into that. So to start off with, executive editor, big title, what does it entail? Like what is your work? Because we have a lot of young people here who want to know what you do.
So it's like it's a fancy title. Basically what I do is I commission books, which means that I actively search out writers. If I've heard about somebody or I've read someone's book, and then I will go to them and say, would you like to write another book for us? Or I might have an idea, I might think about a specific idea, and then I will try and find a writer who will write that book for me. So that's pretty much what a commissioning editor does. You also have a different kind of editor in a publishing house, which is a copy editor, and that person will sort of do the actual language, the line edit as we call it, the language edits on a manuscript. I forgot to mention that what an executive or a commissioning editor would also do is when the manuscript comes in, is you sort of have macro level look at the manuscript. So you're looking at structure, you're looking at flow, you're thinking, you say, look, this character just sort of is not seeming three-dimensional, you need to work on it a bit more, the dialogue needs to be worked on, or that it's all flowing brilliantly. But basically it's really helpful for anybody writing to have a third person look at it and give you feedback, because that person will be objective. So it doesn't help if you're showing it to a friend, unless your friend you have that kind of relationship, or your family. Your family is not going to be able to give you the feedback that you need. You need somebody to say, tell you where you might need to work, what are the weak spots, and what are the great things that you can continue to build on.
And we have a lot of authors in our midst, and for those who have published, I'm sure they have very interesting relationships with their own editors. You have different ways of pushing each other, pulling each other, right? Forcing each other at times. So I'm sure there's a lot of experience there. So for budding writers, what are you looking at? Like, what would you say to them? How do you approach a publishing house to say, this is my work? How do you do that?
Well, the first thing I would say is, I'm assuming that you've got a manuscript down. And before that, I really think it's important to read. Just while you're writing, before you're writing, just read a lot. It informs your writing in really good ways. So when you've got your manuscript down, you've got your first draft, and your first draft, please don't send that out. Just sit on it a bit, revisit, rework. You will see yourself what needs to be worked on. You will continue to work on it once it's been placed with a publishing house. But I do think that you yourself should look at it a couple of times before you feel like, okay, it's ready to show it to a professional. Then I would think that earlier we would just get manuscripts in directly to publishing houses, and there were so many manuscripts that would come, and they all sort of, they don't get the attention they deserve. I think one of the things that you can think about doing is approach a literary agent. So the literary agent, for those who may not know, is sort of like a middle person, but they're really important because they are working for you. So they will, if you manage to get hold of a literary agent, that person will also advise you on what you can do to your manuscript to make it better. They will write a pitch note for you. So your pitch note is going to be the first page, like basically saying what this book is about, why you think it's a good book, who the readership is, who are you to be writing this book, like your background a little bit. So this literary agent will do that, and the literary agent will also have connections with publishing houses. So they will say, okay, I think this editor in that publishing house might be open to looking, she does a lot of commercial books, or she does a lot of literary books, and this is a good book for her to place it with this person. And of course they follow up with that with the editor, because editors get to we take weeks to evaluate manuscripts. And if a deal comes through, then they're working on your behalf to give you a good deal with the contract, with the royalties, and with the advance. I think watch out also for, Penguin Random House has you'll meet Sudhita later, she has a session. But we signed her on through this thing that we have every year, which is called the Pitch Perfect. So we invite budding writers to come to us and actually pitch their books in front of a jury, and let the top 2-3 we usually sign on and take on. But I think it also builds confidence in the other writers who've pitched. So I think other publishing houses might have something similar. Just watch out for spaces like that. While you're writing your book, it's also good to sort of be building your own profile a little bit. Unfortunately, that's just the reality of our lives today, is that there are so many books being published. So how are you going to stand out? If you have already got some kind of online presence through your writing, or however, it is going to make a publishing house think, okay, because publishing house, partly it's, of course we do it for the love of books, but we also have to sell books, right? It has to be a business. We're paying salaries, we're paying editors, we're paying authors. And it's really, it's great if you get a writer who's really proactive about selling their book. And this is one of the platforms through which you think, okay, there's a possibility. This person has this kind of a following, this person is willing to go to bookstores and talk to them, to push their books. That's all really, really important and will help you get your book placed.
touched upon a lot of things.
Yeah, sorry.
And I'd like to take
Yeah.
them one by one. So to start off with, you mentioned literary agents.
Yeah.
Of course, I think that makes a lot of sense for us over here because we don't have the infrastructure to support a full publishing house.
Yeah.
So maybe identifying that talent and sort of promoting them to different audiences,
Yeah.
there's a big role over there. But for someone who wants to get in touch with a literary agent, is there yellow pages of sorts where you can,
Just,
stop them out? approach them?
Yeah, unfortunately, they're not a huge number. In the US and UK, you'll find like innumerable literary agents. But there are like, I would say 4 or 5 really good ones. And if you just Google literary agents in India, they will come up, the big ones will come up. And they're quite responsive, I think. Publishing is doing really well right now. Everybody is really eager to publish books. We're all looking for like interesting stories. So just don't be afraid. And like I feel like, people are reticent about is the story important? And I'm just like, don't be, because I think like publishing houses are looking for unique stories, unique voices, and so are literary agents. So you should just reach out and see where it goes.
Yeah, I think when it comes to literature and film, a lot of these mundane things that we feel are just everyday things. They just connect with people all around the world. So tapping into that, I think identifying that voice.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I feel like a lot of conversation today has been about folk stories and documenting your histories. And while that's really very incredibly important, I think I would be interested in finding out like someone's day-to-day life here in Oakville. Like if you have like a story set like on your life, like what you're going through today, because these things, our lives are so sort of there are universal things that we go through, right? We all have issues, like, whether it's friendship or whether it's loneliness or struggling to make it or figuring these things out, your career, your education. There are stories that resonate everywhere, and I think really what is really important is to look at to write contemporary, what's going on right now as well.
Right. And while you're at it, writing and letting people know what you're writing and not hiding it away in a little journal in your cupboard, that's, I think, an important aspect. And like you said, we have important personalities who've written, and their books have been bestsellers straight away. Some books have been, it's taken more time for them to come into the public sphere. So, in terms of a young person who wants to be a writer, do you recommend? I mean, it doesn't fit everyone, but is that something very viable for someone to say, "Oh, I want to be a writer," or do I look for a career and this writing is something I do on the side?
You're not going to make a living from writing. Maybe at some point, if you're very lucky, it's just like you'd be very lucky to do that. You have outliers, of course. You have famously Jeevan Bhagat or Amish who made a lot of money, and they still, I feel, largely make the money that they want, that they feel comfortable with from script writing. So Chetan writes scripts for the film industry now, and Amish has like other stuff going on. But no, it's just like just consider how large our country is, right? And right now, a bestseller is a book that has sold 10,000 copies. That is a bestseller for us. So imagine, like, I don't know, the billions are billion, and such a huge English-speaking population as well. But this is what we're looking at. If a book sells 5,000 copies, I'm really happy. So that's not going to earn a writer a tremendous amount of money, right? And also, I feel like if you get caught up in that, maybe you're paying attention to that. I don't know how authentic or free you are to write what you want to write. I think maybe not having to think, and this is really a privileged position, unfortunately, but if you don't have to worry about this book making money for you, but of course getting a good deal from the publishing house and getting the right advance royalties, all of that, I do think that you have to have a second income, yeah.
And you did mention that this...
Yeah, and you did mention that this is indeed a business at the end of the day, right? You've got to sell. And again, like now, we feel that the public consciousness in our country is shifting towards the Northeast. It's shifting towards women, gender rights, and a lot of identities that are associated with that. It's also shifting to indigenous cultures that are embedded in these regions. So, in all of this, since we are sort of falling into one or two of these circles, it doesn't mean that all of us, our stories are going to sell automatically. Although the focus is here now. So even within this sphere, like touching upon what you just mentioned.
Yeah. Can you, oh sorry. Okay, never mind this. So can you elaborate a little bit more on, what is it that is going to connect with the people that might want them to read your book, know your story?
It could be anything, and I think anyone who reads a lot would know it could be any story that just strikes a chord, right? It's very hard to, and I think that is the problem with publishing. There's no formula. There are just books that do really well, and certain books that win awards, and certain books that you think are amazing, and they don't somehow touch people in the way that you would have expected it. I mean, that is fundamentally why we struggle so much as a business. There is just no telling. We just, like, again, you have all these stories, Chetan Bhagat going to various, 20 publishers, getting rejected, and finally gets published and he becomes the biggest selling author ever. We don't know what we're doing basically in publishing either, right? We're just thinking it's such a subjective thing. I like this story, okay, I think this will work, and it might not. So it's really hard to say. I think really the best thing to do is to write the story that feels right for you. I think readers get that sense of authenticity. It just connects. I think that connects. There is no, you can't think like, oh, this genre is doing well, I'm going to write this, and this is follow a particular pattern and this book will sell. That's not likely to work. Just write the book, the story that you have to tell, and that's what it is. And of course it's got to be a good story, right? Fundamentally, it's true. Reading is such a there's so many benefits to it. We've touched upon all of it. It just reading fiction makes you more empathetic. It increases concentration, all of that. But fundamentally, and for me, really, if you just read a book because it's a fun story, that is enough. If it's a great read and you've taken nothing more than just that from it, that's great, that's enough. And I think that your story should just be a good read.
If you're talking about reading as a habit, as a culture, we see that a lot of communities are moving away from the reading culture. Maybe it could be because of technology, maybe it could be because of the lack of output from that particular section of people that we want to know more about. But in terms of education and the focus that schools are placing on academic writing, academic studies, where does reading come into this in terms of? It seems very obvious, but from an editor's point of view, what would you say to parents? You're getting more people to write, to read more.
I think that the thing with reading is it's something that affects your life subconsciously in many ways, like we just mentioned, empathy and all of that. But I know this writer of mine who holds reading workshops in corporates trying to get their employees to read more because it affects the way that they write even the proposals. IT companies, it just affects everything. The way it's all storytelling, right? At the end of the day, whether you're trying to sell a brand or whether you're pitching a project, it's basically how are you conveying it? And reading affects even that, whether you have no interest in fiction or not. The truth is that it would help you in your corporate career. So it's just something, it helps you obviously during your studies. If you're able to concentrate, you're able to, if you can read a 300-page book at a stretch, then you're likely to be able to focus more on your studies. It's just, is it decreasing over here? I feel I can see that there are bookstores doing pretty well. At least in Bangalore, I know there are new bookstores that are opening up, and I know that they're becoming spaces for many activities as well, like book launches and stuff like that. But I'm hoping, from what we can tell, I feel like the reading habit is increasing. I hope it's not dying.
Well, in the most recent years, I would say, the last 2-3 years, it's budding with the younger generation. But there was a lull in between where we felt, not a lot of new things are coming up. The only newsletter that we had in our local dialect that shut over the COVID pandemic. So there was a bit of a lull where people felt technology was where we can get the news straight away. If we need to know anything, we can go there directly. Forms of entertainment, access to the internet, all of that sort of took precedence over writing and just getting that physical paper in your hand and just reading.
Interestingly, I think COVID actually helped book sales. Like book sales for some reason really went up during COVID. I'm not sure why. Obviously, most of that was online, and yet right after COVID, bookstores started doing better as well. I think people were just dying to get out and actually physically be in a space. So there was an increase in that. And in India, e-books don't do very well. I mean, basically Kindle hasn't done well at all in e-books. I mean, people still prefer paperback. And at one point, like 6-7 years ago, people were sort of predicting the demise of like paper books. But it's doing really well. So.
All right, that's very interesting. Yeah, and so again, when it comes to, I'm very biased because I love books in my hand. I like the smell of the book. I like looking at it on my shelf. It just feels like a whole different experience altogether. But I also have a lot of friends who have their tablet by their side, and they've got thousands of titles on it, and they use it whenever they get a little moment of time, and that works really well for them. So from a business side, or maybe from your personal side as well, where do you stand when it comes to ebooks and like the physical book?
I don't care as long as people are reading. Whatever you choose to read on, it's fine. E-book, your phone, that's all right. It's okay. It's fine because I mean, basically, the publishing house also would do a different edition on an e-book, and the author gets royalties. So whether you're buying an e-book or a paperback, it works. Someone's earning money, so it's fine. Don't buy pirated books. Nobody's earning money.
Well, now that you've mentioned pirated books, some people have their opinion that as long as people are reading, well, it's affordable for them. People are making it easily accessible. What's the harm, right? And if you look at the Daryaganj markets and different college street markets around the metro cities, it's filled with pirated copies now, and they've become so good that it's very hard for the casual reader to sort of identify which is the real one, which is the fake one. Right? The alignment is all correct, the embossing on the cover is perfect, everything works out well. So how is the publishing world looking at this threat?
It's a big problem. It's actually something we're constantly trying to combat. And I just published a book about a month ago, and it's doing really well. And by mistake, like an older color cover was on Amazon, and someone is basically printing the book with the Penguin logo with that cover. And it's selling on Flipkart basically. It's just like in no time at all it gets done, and like as you said, you can't really tell, but you can tell from the paper quality. There is you can figure it out. But just remember like that when you're tempted to buy a pirated copy, it's like a writer works for years on a book, they put so much into it, and then they're getting nothing from it when you buy a pirated copy. And I don't know, I still feel like I know that prices are, for some books, can be on the higher side in India, but really when you compare it to prices abroad, it's such a, really priced really well. It's like a cup of coffee probably, somewhere. So it's okay to spend like that 300 rupees and buy the original.
Yeah, and there again, I would say it depends on your background economically,
No, 100%, you're absolutely right. And we're talking about trade publishing, but when I think about academic publishing and how expensive those books are, no, I get why people just want to photocopy the important pages. I get it, but I need to look at it from the perspective of the writer.
That's true. I mean, what do you choose, right? Where do you stand? So I guess that's a very personal thing to each of us. And like you rightly mentioned, the author gets nothing out of it. They've put everything into it. So what I do as a student, I love visiting second-hand bookstores. And that was all I could afford with my pocket money. So, libraries. Yeah, and we have a lot of them popping up in smaller cities as well. The big towns definitely have big libraries and great collections. So I think these are avenues that people can actually look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think libraries is a good option, and maybe that's something that, hopefully we were just talking yesterday, and I think they're closing down in some cities, but it's really unfortunate. I remember growing up and there were little libraries everywhere, and you could go and buy these comics and borrow from it.
I guess this is the right time to shout out to Prologue Bookstore and Library, to the Pasay Library, right?
Yeah.
In our little town, we've got some spaces, right? And the OG of libraries in Ukhrul is the Ramu Library. So, great work that they've been doing, and they've been going on for decades. So, I really appreciate the work they've done in our town. So, looking at the industry and looking at like trying to build reading habits, all across the country, what are the initiatives that Penguin is taking to sort of, bolster this?
So it's like, okay, we are to read. We're supporting people who are doing interesting things. I don't know if you've heard about this this project in Bangalore called Cubbon Reads. So a bunch of people, and it's grown to like 100, 200 people. They meet every like Saturday or every other Saturday in Cubbon Park, which is one of the big parks in Bangalore, and they just read. Like they don't even talk to each other, and then they put their books and maybe they'll have like an exchange at the end of these sessions. But I think, it's really interesting. I don't know if I'd be interested in that. But I think it's just giving people a space to sort of get out of their homes, be out in the open, and doing something like this. You have company, as much company as you want or you don't want, and this actually there is now a similar thing in Bombay. Shantanu Naidu, I don't know if you've heard of him, he's written this really interesting book on, he worked with Ratan Tata for a long time and has written about
The Lighthouse
The
book.
Lighthouse, yeah. So he's doing something very similar, and these things are so popular because I feel like young people really want to do this. They want to get out of their homes and are happy to sit quietly, kind of like a few meters from somebody reading a book. And I think that kind of stuff encourages reading, and really there is, and look at what you guys are doing, coming back, opening like these bookstores and lending libraries, like organizing all of this. It's amazing. There's so much stuff happening, and I think young people are really leading that. And I think what we're doing is just supporting these things as much as possible, giving books or sort of promoting them on our Instagram, things like that. Yeah.
No, absolutely, and I think it's really wonderful to have people from different backgrounds supporting a project like this. It could be from the government, different social organizations, just the casual reader, right? They give a lot of support with just their presence and just a few words as well. But that said, you also were the festival director for the White Owl Festival in Dimapur earlier this year, last year.
We've had it for 2 years now.
Right.
You're right. This is like Penguin is really interested in looking for new voices, and it's like, as you said, that we're really trying to focus now on writing from the Northeast. And one of the things we did is our head of marketing is from Dimapur, and he coordinated with this lovely bookstore there called the White Owl to set up it's called the Penguin Presents, the White Owl Literary Festival. So we had that last time, we had that this year, and it's going to be an annual event. So that is something that, you're right, the festivals are some places, I think, that really inspire people to read as well. Meeting writers and just hearing about it, being amongst people who like reading. I think these are things that really, sort of inspire and encourage.
Definitely, and like you said, with the rise in the reading culture in the Northeast, with bookstores coming up in different places, I think there's a new wave of voices that are also going to be coming up.
Absolutely.
And the people who are working in these sort of initiatives, it could be, of course, a business venture, but for a lot of them, it comes from a place in their heart where they say, why should I be the only one having this access to so many wonderful worlds? People should read more.
Absolutely. And it's really great to see that at that festival, just from the previous year, how much sales went up in the bookstore. I think people just really, I think it's just about access. Whether it's to get published or to get books, it's just about being able to find the space to do it.
Yeah, definitely. And just to remind our audience here, feel free to jot down your questions. I'm sure there are a lot of things that I haven't asked and, things that have just not popped into my head. So, note it down and we'll have an open session at the end, and then you can, put your questions to our panelists here. All right, so that said, putting up small festivals like this, we're tying it up with the Shirui Festival. We had a lot of people saying, you should do this at a separate time where more people can come when they're not distracted by other events. But our objective again over here was, this is a happening event, right? People should want to come here, and, if this is where your priority lies, and if this is where you want to connect. So, like you said, approaching festivals with that mind where it drives opportunities for businesses, for readers, and for everyone. What are the new events that are coming up from Penguin side? Could be festivals, could be any other outreach. Is there something where people can interact more with people from the industry?
Not that I know of, but I just think that, as you said, like festivals are a great space to meet editors and to meet writers and get sort of tips from them if you need to on how they approach publishing houses. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I can't think offhand what Penguin might be doing to facilitate that, except that, an editor's job is also to just be out there a little bit. So you do tend to meet editors in other spaces and you just have to approach them and, like I said, we're really keen to sign on books as well. So approach them, let them know that you're wanting to write and figure out what the protocol is, because I do think that apart from literary agents, every publishing house will have a submissions guideline on their website, but it is good if you have the email ID of somebody working in a publishing house and you approach them directly, because it could get lost amongst many other emails.
That's everywhere, not just in publishing, right? I mean, knowing someone just to open that key a little bit, it's a lot more effective.
Yeah, you should just do that.
All right, then again, so having had a little bit of experience in the publishing world, we have a lot of people who come in, who work full time. We have a lot of people who are freelancing. A lot of editors work for different publishing houses. So while developing your portfolio in whatever field you're in, maybe as an illustrator, maybe as an author, maybe as an editor, what are the things that publishers look for when they look for long-term partnerships with such professionals?
Again, I think it's just about if you have some kind of relationship with them. Obviously, you're talking then of working in a publishing house and how one goes about that. I think if you want to start working in a publishing house, what you could do is first intern with them, and then because then you'll sort of really get to know the ropes, you'll understand what is actually goes through the process. You might also figure out that editing is not what you want to do. You want to work in sales or you want to work in marketing, and an internship would really give you sort of a sense of what that would entail. And then you could, we're always looking for freelance copy editors. We have proofreaders, and those are entirely a freelance team. Basically what the proofreading is the last step. So it goes through your structural edit, it goes through your copy edit, it gets typeset, which is basically laid out. That's how you see it in a book. And then it goes to a proofreader who does a thorough check. So for any typos and errors that might have slipped through the 3 rounds. And invariably, of course, there will be 1 error or 2 errors, because that's just life. But it also makes me feel a little bit it's a human process, and they will slip. The authors are either copy editors, 3 editors, but the reader will find it and email us and tell us about it. But you could freelance, build up your skills. There are a couple of publishing degrees, not a degree, but sort of, there's one in Calcutta, Seagull. Seagull runs sort of a publishing course, thank you. And there is one more, I think it might be in Pune, I'm not sure. But there are a couple of things that could help you get inroads into the publishing industry.
All right, so you mentioned different processes within the publishing journey. And when authors come with the idea, they come with a voice, they come with, a certain adeptness of the language. But in the process of editing, I don't know how many times you might have faced it, but you would have had to sort of tweak things around, push things around, timelines would change, the narrative might change. So how much of the author remains and how much of the editor's work shows through? Can you shed some light on that?
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting question, because I feel like the point is to not tweak it that much and to understand that there are some books where the author's voice is even if in my head doesn't sound right and it doesn't sound like good English, that is the way it is meant to be told, and that the author has a sense of someone speaking that way that I may not be aware of, but he is. And I really think that a lot of commercial writing is written that way, and I think this is why so many editors passed on Chetan Bhagat or initially even ambitious, because you think that this writing doesn't fall under the rules of well-written English. But in fact, he was writing in a way that a lot of people were speaking. And that is exactly why it clicked, because suddenly people who didn't read were like, I can read this. This is completely accessible and completely like something, they knew the people that he was writing about. They were that person. They were, it was a conversation they'd have with their parents, with their girlfriend, with their teachers. This is exactly why it did so well. So I think it's really important for an editor to figure that out. To not be, like, but it must sound like Shakespeare, or like, it doesn't. It has to serve the story well. And so there are some spaces that you could intervene when you think this is maybe not the way the writer meant to write it, and therefore will help them frame that sentence better. But these are all suggestions. Finally, if the author says no, you should bow down to the author's take on it.
All right, so very interesting what you said, because I read this book, I saw the movie first, I think The Boondock Saints. It's based in Ireland, I think, if I'm not wrong, it's been a while. But I saw the book version of it at a second-hand bookstore a long time later, and I realized that the book was written in just the way that they spoke the entire, their accent, the spelling of it, you know how the right word should sound, but then it just spelled the way that, they said it out. It was very hard for me as a reader to read it.
Even Reservoir Dogs is like that. I think it's written in that dialect almost, and it's so difficult to read. But that's exactly the way.
So that's another formula that works. And it's not like there was a narrative aspect to it, and then when the quotes came up, that was how it came up. No, the entire narration was that, right? So over here, what we're facing in the context of our writing Dankal, because this was such an oral tradition in terms of passing things on, we didn't have the script for the longest time. And when we did, we sort of anglicized it with the alphabets. And then we've got like one or two where we have special characters. So we're still in need of a more refined sort of script, so to say. But that being said, because the Tangals, the Nagas, like the Tangals especially, we are sort of a conglomerate of so many different villages, and we have so many different dialects spoken in all of these different places. Tangkul just happened, the language that we know now as Tangkul was a language that was derived from the Hunpun village, the language that was spoken in this area, right? So now what's come about is people who come from different villages and they've adopted Tangkul. We have certain ways, we have certain deviations in the way we pronounce things. So because we don't have a hard and fast rule of what is the correct spelling, how do you say this, different authors coming up in different places, they use different spellings for it. Like a CHA and a JA might be used in different meanings, but because that I think, and of course like the authorities, the societies who are working in this aspect, they're certainly developing certain ways to sort of standardize it. But yeah, like you said, how does coming up with such mechanisms in your writing, where do people say, oh, but that is not the way English is meant to be used, or that is not the way it's actually spoken, you might set a wrong precedent, and people might start quoting it in future references.
That's okay, because language is evolving, right? I mean, it doesn't, like the words we use now. I mean, when you watch a movie or you read a book from even 40 years ago, it just sounds archaic, it's like, it's just different, and that's fine. Language keeps evolving, and new words should be added to our dictionary. But this is, I don't know what you would do in such a fluid thing. I mean, I guess we're seeing it being set right now, which is an interesting process.
Yeah. Oh, definitely, and I think if you have any insights on that, we would love for you to, pitch in. So we'll shortly be moving to the audience, and I hope you have all your questions ready. Our session with our previous speaker, we saw there were a lot more questions that wanted to be asked, so we're going to allot a lot more time to you this time. Okay, so before I go into my next session, my next question, I'm going to open it up to you, to the audience, and then I'll get back into my questions. So from the audience, anyone? I'm sure the panelists really want to, take the mic from my hand. They're waiting to give you a chance for the rest of you. And I think,
how many of you are thinking about writing something?
Maybe a quick show of hands.
No? No show of hands. Nobody wants to write? Okay, there you go. Okay.
Okay, so I just want to ask, like, let's say that there's a new budding writer, right? Someone who just wants to start writing. And let's say I have a solid idea of what I want for the content of the book. What's the next step? Like, who do I pitch the idea to?
Oh, you have to write the book, no? I mean, like, you have the idea,
Yeah.
but you must start writing it, especially as a debut writer.
Yeah, so after you've written that, where do we go to next? Like, to publish that book,
Okay,
that
so
process.
assuming that you've finished the manuscript and you've gone through it and you're happy with it, a couple of things that you can do is look for a literary agent to represent you, or just try, I mean, you could try and figure out if you know anyone who knows somebody in a publishing house that you could write to directly, or go through the websites and find the submissions guideline. That would be the next step. And also, like, as I mentioned earlier, there are a couple of, like, publishing houses might have, like Penguin has the Pitch Perfect, so you could watch out for, like, competitions or spaces where they're opening it up there, or they're allowing, like, some kind of interaction between editors and debut writers, and you could pitch your book there.
Anyone?
Anyone else?
Ma'am, I have a question here. So, this small town has beautiful minds, but we aren't tech savvy, most of us. So,
So, I missed that. It's a small town, but?
people are not tech savvy, I would say.
okay.
So, is it necessary for people who wants to make big like you to be tech savvy? Like, is good ideas enough to make it, or do people have to be technically smart?
No, not, I mean, you could, eventually your book will needs to be typed out on, but, like, is that what you mean? Like, it has to be on a computer, or?
This is such a basic question, but people in this town are still struggling. I mean, people who write and who wants to be.
So, they handwrite their manuscripts, is what you say?
Yes, I think most of us do that, and we write in our phone notes. I mean, the
Right.
notepad.
Okay.
But after writing, most people do not know where to go and how to go about. We don't know even have that basic knowledge. And I worked as a content writer, and I struggled a lot to compete with the people in Delhi. So, as
Yeah, no, it will have to. The thing is that the manuscripts gets evaluated in a publishing house by several people. It goes to the rest of the editorial team. It goes to, after a certain point, it goes to sales. It goes to marketing. So it has to be on a Word doc. Finally, that is something that would be necessary for sure. I mean, whether it's handwritten on your phone notes, it will have to be converted at some point.
okay, thank you. I asked not only for me but for the people
Sure.
who yeah, are studying the
No, I think that's a very relevant question because it seems very obvious, but like where do you go once you put your pen down on paper, right? And I think this festival and this sort of a platform, this conversation, sort of puts that to light. And with the way that we are looking at taking the festival forward, is there too much of an echo? Yeah, so in the direction that we want to take this festival forward, of course the festival, we don't know what the future is, we want to do more of it, but with this platform and with all of your participation, with the connection that we make in the duration of this festival, this is something that we want to do, right? We've got a library, we've got people who are working in different capacities in the publishing world who have that experience. So we would like to have more workshops, over the months, different things where people can come in, pitch their writing. We have the open mic that's happening tomorrow, so that could be the first start, right? So different things, and we'll certainly try to work on this.
Yeah, I think that's such a great idea to build a community community of people who feel, I mean, it's a space where you feel, safe and not shy about sharing your writing or your ideas and resolving issues like this, problems that would not have occurred to them. Yeah.
Okay, so we have time, so I'll definitely give you time. Okay, we'll take Loom's question now before you forget.
So I think in Northeast, we have a lot of small pockets of communities really interested in literature, trying to promote literature. We have a lot of writers who are self-publishing or sending out their manuscripts to publishers, right? But these are all scattered individual efforts. But you on the publishing side, you might have a better view of, maybe a wider view of the development. Can you give us some insights on how the literature is evolving or changing the trends in Northeast? Like, do you see anything that's been changing over the years? Is there any growth that you, or potential that you see coming?
Well, I think what is unusual is that poetry is so popular over here. I mean, it's not as popular. I mean, it's when you're a really well-known poet and then you get published in other parts of the country and then your books do fairly well. But I see here that people are generally really interested in poetry and...
Most people start with poetry.
Yeah, which is interesting. But I can't see, I think it's so early that I can't see any trends yet. It would be really good to have more writing across genres, whether it's, retelling of folk tales or, contemporary writing or non-fiction history or just culture, sociology. All those genres are things that people are really interested in. Across, readers and publishing houses. Unfortunately, I think it's pretty new to say that, I can see a lot of that kind of writing happening. I think right now it's more short stories, children's stories that I see happening in the Northeast and poetry. But it would be great to see more, full-fledged novels and stuff like that. It's something we didn't talk about, and I don't know if you want to just think is this. I guess self-publishing versus publishing with a publishing house. It's just self-publishing is fine. It's just that I feel like with self-publishing that the reach is limited, and you could, of course, it could be either what's it called on Kindle. You could publish just your ebook, and or you could actually publish paperback. Ebooks but still the problem with India is that it's so massive, and what you want to do really when you've written a book is hopefully reach as wider an audience as possible, which a publishing house allows you to do just because they have such a huge network with sales. And apart from that, you have them taking over, you have a professional editor looking at it, you have the marketing department as well promoting your book. So I just feel that's probably why people who do really well with self-publishing as well, this, when I think about it, Savi Sharma, Ashwin Sani, who self-published to begin with, they eventually want to move to a publishing house because they're going to reach a readership that I unfortunately can't just through self-publishing.
No, that was certainly something that we were going to come up to. Yes, sir. Yeah, okay. So just to follow up at this point, we have a lot of, like she said, we have a lot of people who have reached out to self-publishing companies. They get their books published. Some have to shell out the initial investment on their own. So I think that's another aspect where an actual publisher might not charge such a thing.
No, we don't charge at all for anything, any part of it, for the editing or the printing or the production or any of it. I know self-publishing. With self-publishing, that does happen.
So the three questions. One very comfortable one. Okay. The other two will be very controversial ones.
Okay.
Problematic ones. So first, when you compare, say, hard copies with the e-copies,
yeah,
especially the ones available on Kindle, I was told that because you don't waste or you don't cut down a lot of trees when you sell on Kindle, You actually make a lot of profit on the sale on Kindle, more than the physical one. Because physical one you have to really invest in the paper and the printing and all that. And usually every publishing house outsources the printing, mostly. So I wanted to ask, in your experience, and you were just talking about the self-publishing e-books. In your experience, would you think that the profit that you make out of Kindle, since you have to share with Amazon, yeah, and the profit that you make from the hard copies, would you think that these two are reasons enough or data enough or say an experience enough for you to prioritize two separate lines, for instance, of when you sign an agreement with a publisher? That's one question. Second one, these are all controversial, but because you are here, I need to ask you. I'm very curious. So, between your previous job at Westland and now at Penguin, who would you say is more professional? Of course, Westland is now. It
still exists.
It still exists. Oh, I thought it's shut.
No.
Okay, so who would you think is more professional and who has the more? Of course, I know Penguin has more money in terms of spending on marketing and all that. But who has more reach online or on the the market? Third question is, because you're from Bangalore, and I always have this issue because you're coming to Ukhrul and you wouldn't have heard of maybe a place like Ukhrul before you were invited, and then you decided to come. So on a personal note, it's quite a investment, and we're grateful to you that you come to all the literary festivals in the Northeast. It's because maybe you have an agenda in the future. But I want to ask you, in terms of, because here also I heard chatters about the reading community. So in terms of a reading community, do you think Bangalore has the best reading community or Delhi? And please say it openly.
Okay.
We're recording that.
Okay, so the first question was ebooks versus paperback. So the thing is, as I mentioned, is that the Kindle just hasn't taken off in India. And so like the percentages of sales on Kindle or ebooks, and basically it's Kindle, right? Like nobody is downloading any other version of any book, it's just a Kindle. It's so small. It's just, so we bring it out, but it's really like, I don't even know, maybe 5% of our sales. So it's never going to be comparable. It's just, I can say that Amazon sells online sales of our paperback books is bigger than offline sales, but with our ebook versus pbook is way larger, and we do compensate for that difference in investment because we give higher royalties with ebooks. It's like 25%, I think. But having seen how badly Kindle is done, it's just something that we do for somebody who might want to read a book on their Kindle. Your second question was Westland versus. So I would say that professionally, I feel like Penguin is more professional, but there is a certain charm in working with a company like Westland. It was a family-owned company. So everyone knew everybody for years. I worked with them for 14 years. And it was lovely working with them. And it kept changing hands, it went from independent to Trent and then Amazon famously decides to close it down in a very Amazon kind of way. And that really shows you corporate versus family, Like Western lost the entire backlist. And there's no thought to the years of all those books that have been published just disappeared, and Western, because of the way they function, as soon as they got another buyer, Pratilipi, they tried to print as many of the backlist as possible. Whoever was getting the rights, they got it. But that's, so there is certainly so much great about it. But I think in my career, it's nice to also have this experience with a company like Penguin, which is a large company with lots of resources, all focused on books. And you have like that knowledge about books goes through every level. I love talking to the sales guys. It's just all of it, like, you must know Vitesh, like, so all of them know so much and you can learn from everybody in that company. And I think that's really something that is great.
Sure.
And the third question, Bangalore. You shouldn't ask about Bangalore in a way. I'm so happy to have the opportunity to come to the Northeast. Like 2 years ago, I'd never come, I'd never visited. And now I've been to Nagaland twice, I've been to Meghalaya, I've been to Meghalaya, and I'm now like Manipur. So I feel really lucky. And you're right, I do have an agenda. My agenda is to get more people to write and for us to be able to publish more books from here. The reading culture, I think Bangalore does. That comes from privilege, I guess. Like, there's always been like a reading population. There's also script, right? We've had that script for so long, and so people have been writing in Kannada for many decades, ages. So I think it's just something that that is ingrained in people. You have, like, if you guys come to Bangalore, you must go to like Church. There's a street called Church Street, which is like the bookstore street. There's like 5 bookstores, one after the other there. So it's a good reading. But so is, I think Delhi, Bombay, Calcutta, Chennai, Bangalore are all considered quite, yeah.
But you still say that Bangalore is the best.
What can I say?
So
Just objectively.
I missed out the addition to the second question.
Yes.
Because I wanted to, it's a request, but it's also a conversation we must have.
Yeah.
So because in the past, what has happened is, Penguin, I won't blame Penguin. They also go by how the whole of the country thinks about the region.
Yeah.
So logistics and how handling logistics have greatly improved over the years.
Yeah.
So I still feel in terms of distribution, Penguin is very weak in the Northeast. So a lot of hard work has been done by, for instance, authors and all that. Just coordination is difficult.
Yeah.
And I would just say that even if someone is an author from other parts of India, they don't have to remind the publishers that you're traveling and therefore I'm going to the airport, so I want my book to be on the airport bookstore. But that's just a small matter. The big matter is if you want more writers from the Northeast to keep writing, publishing and all that. I think Kolkata is no longer the headquarters of Northeast. I think we should have a distributor in Guwahati. And Pinaki is there handling all of Northeast, but I think you should have a distributor in Guwahati. Because I checked the market, they are like just small towns like Ukhrul. There are so many small towns in Northeast where close to just about 200 to 300 copies of a popular author will sell in that small town. And it's a huge amount if you aggregate it. Yeah, so I think dedicated, not Christian youth, but a dedicated distributor in Guwahati would be necessary.
No, it makes sense because we want to focus on the region and you have to sort of. But you did mention online as well. Were you talking about the online Western versus Penguin or no? Yeah. The social kind of. The problem is that Penguin, we publish like 250 books, so it's a year. So it's hard to sort of give as much attention to each book on our social media.
Somebody in Northeast as well, as a distributor, helps.
Absolutely, I completely agree, and I will mention this to the team. Absolutely makes sense.
Yeah, so thank you so much. Okay, so I was just going to wrap it up, but we have one hand and that is going to be our last one. But if you do have time to approach ma'am, please do after the session. Okay, this is going to be the last question. Yeah.
Okay, so hello ma'am, I have some curious. So our family own bookstores in this town. So we have two bookstores. It's the oldest bookstore in this town. So EU bookstore. And the thing is that we sell a lot of regional books, which are published by our community. And the thing is, the books that they publish is of course, the people in our community, the population is very less. So obviously they will publish less books. So if they publish less books, the price is higher. So if the price is higher, and the thing is that we don't have access to publishing houses that are very big, in a sense that the price for students from who are doing research, etc., they come to buy the books, but they obviously seeing is 2,000-3,000. So normally they can't afford such books. And I myself, as a student, I know that I can't afford such expensive books. So what they do is they take the picture and they go back. But we don't want them to take the picture and go back, of course. But we can't also stop them because they're also students, and bookstores are for students, right? So it affects the writers, the bookstores, and everyone, and the reading culture and everything. So how can we combat against this? And I have one more question. So it's about ebooks. So after COVID, ma'am said that the sales of book was much more than how it was pre-COVID. But the thing is that post-COVID, maybe we saw some students coming to buy novels and everything, but it only happened because of the internet lockdown, shutdown. I'm sorry. So after the internet shutdown, people started buying books and all. But the thing is that the e-books, it doesn't include the bookstores as the middleman. So obviously we won't get any profit, but then realistically thinking about it, how will bookstores survive in this scenario? And with Kindle and everything coming up, so we can say that more bookstores are coming up, more bookstores are coming up, more libraries are coming up. But the question is at the end of the day, it's a business. Even if you are not trying to make so much profit from it, at least you need to thrive. At least you need to have daily food. So how can we combat this problem? Because it also adversely affects the writers. So I was.
So to the first.
Can I just add one footnote or endnote to this question?
Yeah, please go.
Sorry to disturb the moderator and both of you. In terms of this publication, particularly concerning about indigenous tribal people knowledge systems, and wherein the knowledge are of course also more communitarian in this, how the knowledge is produced. So from the perspective of the publisher, how do you deal with the question of copyright and copyleft, and also in terms of these authorships, or here the knowledge is more into this communitarian system? How do publishers deal with that? Thank you.
So every author retains copyright in their book, right? You'll see on that copyright page, they have the copyright and they're giving us the right to publish the book for a certain period of time. So it's pretty straightforward, and there's a contract. That outlines when you can get your copyright back or whatever issues you have with it. It's a pretty straightforward contract, and the copyright is clearly in the writer's name. And they're just giving us the right to publish it for a period of time. But to your the first part of your question about books being expensive, and it's a tragedy. But as much as publishers have a responsibility to search out new voices and to publish new voices and all of that, I think readers have also a responsibility to read and encourage the writing that comes from where you are. And I think that is one thing we have to just encourage readers, and that will hopefully help that situation. But the books you're talking about, I wonder if, I have no idea if the government can step in, if there's funding available, if those books can be subsidized in some way. Like if somebody is writing a book that they know is going to eventually cost 2,000 rupees, maybe the idea is to get funding in some way that will discount the printing or the packaging of all of the distribution of it. So, I mean, it seems to me that these are academic niche books. So I'm not sure the mainstream publisher would be interested in or if it would fit their list, but that's what I would think about. And for bookstores, I mean, it's like such crucial spaces in our lives, and it would be awful. I mean, it has to exist, and I think one way is perhaps to open up your space to like workshops or to bring people in for different reasons than just to buy the book. So you have like, conversations or things happening there that would bring, this is what Bookworm does so successfully in Bangalore, like their online, they've just really done a great job about their online presence, and they promote their books. And to combat this whole Amazon thing, they also they say we can you just sign up and we'll send you the book today. So they do all of that, like to just sort of have people not have people just immediately go to Amazon. Your discounts are never going to be the same as Amazon's, but I think it's just your choice. Like, will you to support your local bookstore? Should you be paying that much more? Maybe you should, just to, instead of taking photographs, going to Amazon and getting it a discount. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think, she brought up a very relevant question. That was going to be my closing remark, right? Where do independent bookstores stand in the view of big publishing, right? So I think that sort of answers it. Do you want to add anything more?
No, I think that's it. I mean, I think bookstores are crucial to the whole ecosystem, so.
Okay, thank you so much. So I think it's been a very informative session. We will have more time with her after the session is over. She can be at the author signing area if you want to interact with her. You can meet her outside. So, we'll be around.
Yes.
Right? So thank you so much, Deepthi, for your time, and it's been lovely having you here. Thank you for coming to Ukhrul. It hasn't been an easy journey, but thank you so much for coming here, and I'm sure you wouldn't want to miss the Shirui show that's happening right at the here, right? So I hear you're planning to visit tomorrow, so I hope you have a safe trip. Enjoy your time here in Ukhrul. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for a wonderful time.